Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. My name is Alexa Giovanna Zaragoza Alcantar. I am a student at the University of Guadalajara in Mexico. Today, I will present you Cultural Connection in Learning English Through Music, a study that looks for the intersection of music, culture, and second language acquisition among students of the Licenciatura en Docencia del Inglés como Lengua Extranjera, or better called LIDILE, at the University of Guadalajara. This research investigates the way in which English language music contributes to the development of linguistic competence and cultural awareness. This is adopting an ethnographic framework. I collected qualitative data through participant observation, semi structured interviews, and focus groups over a 2-month period. The analysis demonstrates three valuable things: motivational value due to how music fosters and sustains engagement with English, pedagogical utility because songs provide authentic input that strengthens pronunciation, vocabulary, and memory retention. And last but not least, the cultural mediation explaining how music facilitates an effective connection to the speaking English cultures. Also, this enhances learners' intercultural competence. This investigation pursued five specific objectives. The first one is to describe the influence of the English language music on motivation and engagement, to identify and categorize both conscious and unconscious learning strategies, to examine how these strategies support linguistic development and cultural understanding, to explore how students integrate English language music into their everyday practices, and the last, to assess learners' perception of music's contribution to their overall language learning. Following those objectives, they were encapsulated in three guiding research questions. In what ways does music influence English language learning beyond the formal classroom setting? What strategies learners employ when engaging with English language music? And how do the cultural dimension of music affect motivation and learning outcomes? For the literature review, 5 sources were taken. Those are the following ones. Luke et al. Demonstrate that singing facilitates long-term retention of foreign phrases. Shun et al. Said that identify overlapping neural networks for music and language processing. Medina reports that contextualized lyrics enhance vocabulary acquisition. Morphic highlights that songs as conduits for cultural nuance and emphasizes that music's role in sustaining motivation and improving retention. Collectively, these studies position music as a multidimensional resource for second language learning. For the methodology, we have that the study employed a qualitative ethnographic design. 20 Lidl students participated, and the data was collected through three instruments: structured observation sheets, semi structured individual interviews, and the focus group discussions. This triangulation ensured a rich and incredible data set. Going on with the instruments, these slides illustrate the three principal instruments: the focus group that facilitated the exploration of collective perceptions and peer interactions. Then, the participant observation that enabled the documentation of authentic behaviors within natural context. And while semi structured interviews elicited in depth individual reflections and allowed for clarification of emerging themes. As you can see in the focus group sheet, we have that the students were asked to listen Imagine by John Lennon. Then it was led to a discussion about the cultural themes and how the students understand this song. Then for the observation sheet, we have this instrument is about engagement with music, vocabulary practice, and the pronunciation practice. Then we have the descriptors. For the first one is actively listening to music, singing along or humming, reacting to rhythmics, to the lyrics. Then for the vocabulary practice, looking up unknown words or phrases, writing down the lyrics. And for the pronunciation practice, repeating phrases from the song, mimicking the singer's gestures, or maybe another observations that we could have. And the last, that it was the semi-structured interview. This is a guide for us to know more knowledge about the music and how was the process for the students. Now, speaking about the main themes and findings, 4 salient themes emerged from the analysis: learning strategies adopted during music engagement, cultural connection fostered through exposure to English language music, the integration of music into daily life, and the motivation and collaboration promoted by shared musical experiences. So now we have the behavioral patterns that the participants exhibited recurring behaviors that supported language development, notably singing along to enhance prosody and rhythm, and imitating accents to improve fluency and phonological accuracy. Now let's go with the conscious and unconscious strategies. They were divided into translated lyrics, annotating unfamiliar words, and repeated phrases for practice as a conscious strategy, while the unconscious ones are singing along, mimicking accents, and adopting rhythmic patterns during the passive learning sessions. Now, revising the cultural themes explored to music, learners connected lyrical content with societal and personal values, demonstrating that music operates as a vehicle for intercultural understanding and the acquisition of sociolinguistic competence. For example, Imagine by John Lennon served as a focal point for the cultural exploration. Themes like peace and equality resonated with students, and the music provided exposure to idiomatic expressions and cultural references. Although the song is old, those terms are still in use nowadays. We can see peace, equality, and the social union, linked to Imagine by John Lennon lyrics shown during the E scenario set for the focus group. Then for equality, it was linked to the reflections of students shared during the focus group, where the human values were the main topic. And the social union that it was linked to the cover topics during fragments of the semi-instructor interviews. Now, for the daily integration of music for language learning, we have that students reported incorporating English language music into daily routines, such as commuting, studying, or leisure activities. This sustained exposure provided continuous, informal input that complemented formal instruction. The 40% of the students listen to music passively to study or to do other tasks. The 30% use apps to follow the lyrics, such as Apple Music and Spotify. The 20% sing along during leisure time. And the 10% create a playlist intentionally to practice the language. Besides, music functioned as an effective catalyst. It reduced language anxiety, increased enjoyment, and encouraged collaborative practices including the song sharing, lyric interpretation, and thematic discussion, thereby cultivating a supporting learning community. Now, for patterns of behavioral beliefs, through overarching patterns were identified. For the behavioral patterns, singing and accent mimicry facilitated pronunciation and fluency, and the cultural patterns engagement was the lyrics promoted by the reflection on cultural references and the personal identity, enriching both linguistic and cultural learning. In conclusion, English language music constitutes a powerful pedagogical resource. It enhances motivation, promotes deeper engagement, and supports long term retention, while simultaneously fosters intercultural awareness. These findings advocate for the systematic integration of music into English as a second language curricula. Last but not least, this slide presents the key sources that inform the theoretical and methodological foundation of the study. Thank you very much for your attention.